missing husband came home, but I know this just isn't him. My husband went missing 6 months ago. Just went out to work one day and never came home. It was a horrible shock to the whole neighborhood because things like that just didn't happen in our little slice of white picket fence Verona. The police launched an investigation and the neighborhood watch sent out search parties, but no one could ever find any evidence to indicate what had happened to him. Our families were devastated. Recently, the missing posters had been taken down or papered over. The updates from the police became less frequent and dwindling away. I accepted that, hard as it was to admit, my Rick wasn't coming back until he did. A week ago, I was in the back garden watering my tulips. When I heard the garden gate creak open, I jerked my head in the direction, and there he was. Exactly the same as the day he had disappeared. Same wind-swept blonde hair and bright blue eyes, same curls to his pink lip. I was in shock. Our families had mourned for him, and yet he was there, standing in our garden like he had just popped out from milk or something. Then I asked where he was and where he had been. He said he didn't know. He couldn't remember anything from the last 6 months. All our family and friends are beside themselves with joy. They couldn't believe it. But that's the thing. I don't believe it. Look, I understand this sounds crazy and all. I do. Our families would never believe me. I can't go to the police unless I want to end up in a straitjacket. But I just know that man sleeping next to me isn't my husband. I don't know what to do. I know I should be happy, but I'm not. I'm terrified. I don't know much about anything supernatural or paranormal. I don't even like watching horror movies, but something about this whole situation makes my skin crawl. Just let me explain why I'm so sure. Once I've done that, hopefully one of you will believe me, and you'll be able to tell me what to do. The morning after Rick, quote-unquote, came home, I made him a cup of tea. Then I handed it to him. He gave me the brightest smile. Then he took a sugar cube from the dish on the table and dropped it into his cup. Our house was in chaos with his return, and I was still in shock, so I didn't think much about it at the time, but it's been replaying in my mind ever since. I know it doesn't sound very significant, but my husband never puts sugar in his tea. He was always admitted that it would ruin the taste, and he was so frustrated if I ever put sugar in his cup by accident. And yet this man had sugar. Then it was the golf. A few days ago, when he was out visiting his mom, I recorded a golf tournament that was showing on the TV. It was one of Rick's favorite golfs, and it was campaigning. He never missed it. Once, he even skipped out on a anniversary dinner just to watch a championship. Only when he came home from his parents and I told him what I've done, he just seemed unbothered. Like, he said thanks and everything, and then he asked if I wanted to get dinner. He didn't even watch it, and that's just so out of character for him. Then one night I woke up around 2 a.m. to see Rick's face inches from mine, just looking at me with these blank eyes. I kinda got nervous and laughed, said, "Baby, what's wrong? What are you doing?" And he didn't answer. For a solid 30 seconds or so, he just stared, almost like he was looking right through me. Then he suddenly smiled and said, Sorry, honey. Sometimes I can't believe this is real. Then he just rolled over and went to sleep. I didn't get much sleep after that myself. Yesterday, about a week after he came home, the neighborhood threw a street party to celebrate his return. Everyone from our neighborhood and the streets on either side turned to see him and tell him how happy they were that he was all right. When he wasn't standing in his arm around my waist, he was smiling around, chatting to each and every one of our neighbors. Even the little kids, Jason, our next door neighbor, Sally's toddler, wanted to play peekaboo, and Rick happily played along with a smile on his face. Now, my husband never did that. Rick always said he didn't like kids. That's why we never had any. And so he never wanted to play with any of the neighborhood children, especially not Jackson. Rick all but avoided him. Before he disappeared, I had started to suspect it was so I couldn't see them together and notice the substance, but unmistakably similarities. The final nail in the coffin was he was casually speaking with Sally. Just this morning, she came knocking on our door. Her excuse was the tray of brownies she was carrying, but I think she wanted to push her way into our morning so that she could see for herself what the situation was. After she left, I called her a nosy, busybody. Rick laughed, kissed my head, and agreed with me. That is when I knew, for sure, that it couldn't really be him. Rick always used to be so mad whenever I insulted Sally, but I didn't have any right to hate her even though she'd been fucking my husband for years. But today, there was none of that. He didn't even try to defend her. I know what you must be thinking. If he was in an accident or something, he might have just had some traumatic brain injury that caused him to forget some things about his life, maybe even change his personality. That is valid, reasonable explanation. I have no doubt it's what the police would have told me if I reported all of this. But do you know why? I'm dead certain that man isn't my husband. He doesn't have a scar. If he was really Rick, he would have had a scar on his forehead shaped like a golf club that I hit him with. But there's nothing, not a mark. Honestly, I'm this close to going out tonight and digging up my Pilsen just to make sure he's still under there. I don't know what I'm sharing a bed with, but I know it's not my husband. So what the hell am I going to do? So this is a comment. This is a main comment. You planted him, he grew back. And this is a comment to the main comment. And he grew back even better. That shouldn't make your skin crawl, OP. That should make you, the new Rick, renew your vows. And this is a comment to that comment. Kind of sounds like the new Rick wants to kill her. People seem to want that when they stare at you while you're sleeping. And this is a comment to that comment. I'm sorry, I know I really late here, but I just reread and saw your comment and, well, similarly, although I guess that's sort of maybe kind of like, okay, yeah, okay. Sure, maybe you are onto something there. And this is a comment from the person that said the new Rick was trying to kill her. Based on the post, it seems like the old Rick didn't stare at her while she was sleeping and stuff. Also, happy cake day. And this is another comment. But this comment is from the second comment. It replied to the second comment. I think you're onto something. And this is a response to the I think you're onto something. Right? There was another Reddit no sleep that talked about growing a boyfriend in the garden. maybe see if anything in that story are things you did.